What is up, guys? Welcome back. It's been a little bit over like 2 weeks since the last video, I think. There's a reason for that, and I don't know if you can tell, but that's the reason for that. So $300 later, I'm back. I was cutting some stuff out of the boat, covered in fiberglass, had the Tyvek suit on and everything, taking some video for you guys. It's all for you. Nah, I'm not mad. I mean, I'm a little mad, but so I'm climbing out of the boat. Had like 2 or 3 videos on there showing you what I was doing. It wasn't that important. It's basically just cutting out some of the shelves under the helm area. But I just wanted to show you guys some of the tools I used to cut out the fiberglass, since you guys didn't get to see that earlier on in the project. But climbing out of the boat, had gloves on, covered in fiberglass, holding the phone, stepped over the gunnels, and like 7 feet down to asphalt, gone. Unfortunately, the screen is like just doesn't work at all, so I'm not able to get those videos back from what I can tell. There's some stuff I think I can do, but to be honest with you, I'd have to spend more money than it's probably worth to try and recover that stuff. So anyway, new phone. Hopefully the video's better. I don't know. So yeah, on this episode, we are going to pretend we saw me cutting out those shelves, and we are going to install the, we're going to cut out the templates for the front seats. I'll show you the method I use. Never done this before. This is my first boat restoration, so I don't know if it's the best method, but it seemed to work out pretty well for me. So stick around. Hopefully you guys learned something. I think I mentioned later that this is kind of where some of the online tutorials I've seen before kind of started to trail off and not go into a lot of detail on how to do. So yeah, welcome back. Stick around. Hope you guys learned something. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff. And oh, one other thing. If you guys don't mind leaving some comments down below on if you guys would like more or less detail, shorter videos, longer videos. I really don't have any feedback yet, so sorry, air conditioner just kicked on. But yeah, I'm trying to get some feedback on what you guys want to see. For instance, just last night I was taking apart an amp that audio amplifier that I got at a flea market for like $3. Didn't know if it worked or not, so I took it apart, kind of diagnosed it, found some burn up components inside. So that kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys have any interest in that. Again, just leave comments down below, let me know. And here we go with the seat templates. Enjoy. Yeah. Got the shelves cut out. I got the shelves cut out. So that was really the last major thing I had to do before I could start building the front seat boxes. So now that they're gone, it might look like it on camera because it's true, but these things are kind of wobbly. These are still wet because I hosed this out yesterday. So this is where I would say most of what I've seen on YouTube is kind of trailed off on the information. Not throwing anybody under the bus here. I understand redoing a boat's an overwhelming job. I can assure you that turning the camera on for every single thing doesn't help. But when it comes to starting to wrap things up and put things back together, this is where I kind of started wishing there was more info out there. So what I'm assuming to be the best method, because I don't know any better, is I have some foam board that I picked up from the hardware store. 1/2-inch foam board, just something that's really easy to cut. So I'm going to take it, place it along here, and to the best of my abilities, try and scribe it to the hull up in the front. It's probably going to be a trial and error process, but that's why I got foam. It's easy to shape and hopefully get as close as I can the first try. One thing you want to be careful though is hair. Because I cut these supports out, these things are kind of cantilevered right now. They're just hanging here real loose. If I take this window out or lift this window up, this whole thing drops like crazy. So when you measure this, you want to account for that. So just because this is where it is now, when this vertical piece is installed and this gets screwed into it, this is going to be up a little bit. So what I'm probably going to do is take a jack or something or a block of wood and basically kind of slowly raise this up until the window's operating the way I want it to and everything lines up nice. I'll take a measurement from the bottom of this to the floor just for reference, and then when I go to screw this into that piece of wood that I'm going to put in, I'll know the correct height. So that should make this super solid again. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do under here. I'll probably just do like a vertical bulkhead that kind of comes in and out temporarily so I can get access to up underneath the back seats for the screws and stuff like that that'll hold the pads in. I don't think they're going to really do much in terms of stability to the hull. It's already pretty stiff, so putting these back in will help a lot. So that's it. I guess I'll get some foam in here and kind of start taking some measurements and see where we end up. See you in a minute. Alright guys, so since the last shot, it's obviously gotten dark out, so gotta work late pointing in here, so hopefully you can see okay. Just want to show you what I did here before I start making a template. So I got the both sides kind of wedged up with some 4x4s just to kind of get them in the neighborhood of where they need to be. So I got it to the point where if I close the window, it closes nice and easy. There's a reasonable sized gap there. I'm assuming it's going to sag a little bit, so I kind of overshot. I think it looks pretty good. It's pretty parallel the whole way down the seam there. So that's where I want it. So now I can open the window and walk through here and don't have to worry about these sagging. So that's where I'm at. Gonna get the styrofoam in here in a second. I'll show you how I'm gonna attach that, and then we'll scribe it to fit. See how it goes. Be right back. Alright guys, so for those of you guys that have not scribed anything before, try and give you a quick sort of rundown of what the goal is here. So if you take this piece of styrofoam and you bring it up here, sorry, it's kind of hard to see right now, but what we're trying to do is basically take this foam, butt it up against this panel as close as we can get it, and then kind of run the front of this forward. But you see what happens is it kind of runs into the hole here. So that's where we really need to start the scribing. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to lift up this foam. So it's, hold on a second, this is terrible. Let me mount the camera so you can see what's going on. All right, hopefully you guys can see what's going on now. And hopefully my microphone cord's long enough. So what we want to do is, instead of this being on the floor like this, in order to get the front up where we need it, we're actually going to lift it up to where the front of this foam is actually going to be just underneath the piece here, which will be the top surface of the wood. So we're basically trying to get the bottom to go all the way up to where the top of the wood would be, at least level with this surface, which is where the top of the wood would be, at least back to this point. It'll make sense in a little bit, you'll see. So what I'm going to do is take a clamp here. I'm basically just going to clamp this to the fiberglass here. And what I'm doing is I'm basically just going to try and make sure that the bottom of this is flush with the bottom of the fiberglass, essentially, which your hands will tell you a lot more than your eyes will, so just kind of feel and verify. And what else I need to do is make sure that the bottom of that piece of wood in the front is flush with it. So right there feels good, that feels good. It's pretty much flush the whole way back, so I'm gonna clamp down on that a little bit more to make sure it doesn't move. And one other thing you want to verify is that this is relatively straight. And I think I can already tell that the front's bowing in because the foam's too far forward. Alright, so I got the foam where I want it now. So next thing you're going to need is, we kind of check to make sure the bottom of this foam is relatively level with the floor of the boat, and it is. It measures right about 12 inches. And it's pretty close to right on that the whole way up. So we know the foam's kind of where we want it. Again, it's flush with the bottom of this, and it's also flush with the little bit of old plywood that's left, the underside of the old plywood on the front. So now that we know that this is 12 inches, what we want to do is take a Sharpie and a piece of wood. You want to measure 12 inches from the bottom, make a mark. Now, you want to get some tape. Doesn't need to be anything special. Duct tape, blue painter's tape, just something that's going to hold pretty well. I just take a piece, and this is like way too wide, so I'm just going to rip it down the middle. Now, you want to take your Sharpie, and you basically want to get the point of the Sharpie right at that 12-inch mark that you just made on the piece of wood. So I like to do kind of a cross pattern. Then you can kind of get it right where you need it. So I'll go like that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the tip of the Sharpie is right on that 12-inch mark. And then I just go the other way, making sure that it's kind of right where it's supposed to be. You can kind of wiggle it around until you get it. Okay, so now you got your scribe. I know it looks kind of funny, but it'll work. So now what you want to do, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, I think this will work. So basically all you're going to do is run this piece of wood along the foam, following the floor. The main thing is you want this piece of the wood to contact the bottom in this plane. So as you go, you want to keep a little bit of pressure down to make sure it's in contact. And you also want to make sure that this is running parallel to the styrofoam. You don't want to lean it out. You don't want to lean it in because the pen won't touch that way. But if you're leaning out like that, you're not going to get an accurate measurement because this distance is longer than this distance. Like the geometry or trigonometry, the hypotenuse is longer. So you want to keep your scribe straight up. And actually what we're going to do is mark this on the inside, because I already know that this is going to be straight here. And the reason I'm going to mark it on the inside is because this is actually sitting out from where the piece of wood will be that I'm making the template for. Technically this piece of wood will go on the inside of here. It's just easier to mount it this way. So it wouldn't matter in this area. If I was on the inside or outside, it won't change. But when you get up in the hull or the bow where I'm going to be following up on the fiberglass, the distance from the bottom to the styrofoam is going to be different on this side of the foam than it is on that side of the foam. So I want to get it as close to where the wood's going to be. So I'm actually going to do it over here. Alright, hopefully you guys can sort of see what's going on here. Again, I apologize for the bad lighting, but so here's my scribe with the Sharpie. Basically just going to drag along. So right now it's on the bottom of the foam, which is what I expect. And you'll also note here that I am using a piece of wood that's a little bit thicker. Again, that's to help kind of compensate for the offset that would be there. Ideally, like most scribes, this would come to a point, but I actually wanted to kind of follow this outer edge. So basically you just kind of drag along And now I'm starting to go up the foam here as I'm following the hull. And one thing you gotta kind of remember here is this is a fiberglass boat. This isn't fine furniture. It's not trim carpentry. This is a fiberglass boat. Things are gonna be close enough, and that's gonna be good. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going over multiple times, and that just kind of helps you like average out, because on something like this it's hard to get a perfect scribe. So I like to just kind of run along several times, and then when I'm cutting the foam I'll just kind of take sort of like a best fit line, if that makes sense. Alright guys, it's probably gonna be kind of hard to see, but here's what I ended up with. It's not perfect obviously, but like I said, see how I took multiple passes and they're all a little bit different, so that's what I do. I just kind of average it out, and then I'll cut this out with the X-Acto, and we'll see how it fits. I'm really not expecting it to fit the first time perfectly. Alright guys, so you're probably going to be like, what happened between the last video and now? I didn't get to see anything. So let me just recap what's going on here, because like I said, it's kind of confusing to explain, but once you see it, it'll make sense. So if you remember, this end is the part we scribed. So I cut that out, and what I did then is, remember that dimension from the floor to here was 12 inches. That's where I want the plywood to come out, up here in the bow area. So that'll come out at this height here and then run all the way up to just under this piece of wood. So like I said, that was 12 inches from the deck to there. So what I did, I measured up from this edge, which is the floor on the part that we scribed, measured up 12 inches, made a line, and I cut all the way up to the front. So now that little piece goes up right in there, and then this all comes out right flush under here. Now you're probably like, what's going on here? So what that is here, let me try and do this with one hand. So if I put this under here, this kind of flips up, slide it forward. Let me just throw a clamp on here, just temporarily hold it. Okay. So what that is, let's come up here. So here's that front piece that comes out just flush there and flush here. And you can see it runs along the floor. I do need to trim, kind of clean things up a little bit in here. It actually needs to go back just a little. It's actually kind of easier to see if you look down here. So you kind of follow the light and look for the low spot. So I can tell right here it's going to need trimmed a little bit to get this to go further back. But anyway, sorry, I'm probably making you guys sick here. Let's climb underneath. Hopefully there's enough light. So you can see that step up comes behind the bulkhead for the front seat and steps up to this height. So what I did is I extended this part up 2 inches from that surface. The purpose of that, if you haven't figured it out, is I have screw holes here that actually will mount the top cap to this piece, which will get tabbed into the deck. So it's kind of like the reason I'm not going to fiberglass it together is if I ever wanted to take the cap off of this again in the future, I just unbolt these here and it disconnects. So that's what that is. And then back here, what I did was, let me take this clamp off, it doesn't fall over. I assumed it would. I just took a piece of extra styrofoam with like a nice straight edge on it, and I basically transferred this straight line onto the foam. So once it's bolted in here, you kind of get a nice contour that follows that shape. And then, oddly enough, I actually took my duct tape roll to establish this radius here. and then I just kind of eyeballed kind of a return angle. I didn't want this to continue all the way down because it kind of removes some of the support for this heavy kind of fiberglass helm area. It basically drops down, kind of follows, looks nice, and curves back into the floor. I think it looks good. So that's where I'm at. I need to mess around with that front just a little bit more. I actually got really close the first try. I'm almost getting good at this or something. So the reason I know I'm not quite there yet is let me clamp this back on here. So that clamped on, and me trying to get this as close to square as I can. You look down there, I don't know if you can see it, it's out of focus, but hold on. You can kind of see it. So it kind of bows in the front, and that's because it's hitting where I scribe. So, all right, guys. So for those of you that stuck around this long, you get the bonus tip. So this might come in pretty handy for you. So I've been kind of tweaking this fit in the front, kind of trying to get it to fit the way I want, and I noticed this thing was kind of tough to keep plumb this way. So I went in my shed, grabbed a square 2x4 and a clamp. So now the square will stand up on its own and kind of let you tweak that. Looks really good. And I checked it on the other side. Fits just exactly the same. There's a couple of spots that are a little bit tight, but to be honest with you, I'm going to leave them because when you can see down there where there's light and there's not in some spots, but when I cut the plywood pieces, I'm going to mark them port and starboard, and then I'll actually kind of take a sander in this area and kind of bevel it to match the shape of the hole, at least a little bit. So that'll take care of any spots that are just a little bit high, but it came out really nice. This is perfect right here, nice and flush. Same right here, it's touching the plywood, it looks really good. So I'm really happy with how this is going. Yeah, so that's how you make scribe templates for the seat boxes. Dare you to find that somewhere else on YouTube. I don't know if you do, you probably can, but whatever. That's how I did it. I'm happy. I think if I had to do it again, I'd probably do it the same way. It only took me like maybe a half hour to get where I'm at. But the proof that this doesn't work the first time is right here. All the foam pieces I had to trim off. If you stick with it, you're gonna get it good enough. Yeah, so I'm happy where I'm at. I'm gonna take this out of here, lay it on another piece of foam, cut a second template out. Actually, I don't know why I would do that. I'm just gonna use the same template to cut the plywood, so don't need two templates. Yeah, so it's time to cut the plywood. And if you remember in my second episode, I think, I already have it coated in CSM, so once I cut out the template, it's basically good to tab in. It's already waterproofed and everything. I'll just have to waterproof the bare edges and tab them in. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, don't forget to like or subscribe, give me a thumbs up, whatever you're supposed to do. Yeah. See you guys later.